Welcome to Scrubbed In, the DVM Journey, the podcast where we dive into the wild, rewarding, and sometimes unpredictable world of becoming a doctor of veterinary medicine. I'm your host, Grace Gaynor, a current second-year veterinary student at Virginia, Maryland College of Veterinary Medicine. Whether you're an aspiring vet, a vet student, or just passionate about animals, this is your backstage pass into becoming a DVM. From classroom to clinic, we're sharing the insights, tips, and real-life experiences to help you thrive on your journey to becoming a vet. So scrub in, and let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of Scrubbed In. I'm your host, Grace Gaynor, and today I'm thrilled to welcome Kiana Severe, who is a current second-year veterinary student at the Virginia, Maryland College of Veterinary Medicine. Kiana, thanks for being here today.
Of course, happy to be here.
I've had the pleasure of working with Kiana on the VVMA Executive Board last year, and I'm excited to hear more about your story today. So Kiana, tell us about your journey to veterinary school.
Yeah, so my journey into vet school was it was unconventional because I originally started in high school. My dad wanted me to be a lawyer, and my mom really didn't care what I did, but she wanted to be a CSI agent when she was younger, but the requirements were too much. So she's like, no, I don't really want to do that. So she ended up being a psychologist. But we used to watch a lot of shows together. So I thought I went into high school because my high school was a STEM high school. So we had majors. So I went in, I picked criminal justice. Had to do it for 4 years. Once you chose it, I had to stick with it. It was okay. We had a whole year of lawyering stuff. I hated it. Worst thing ever. Never want to do it again, but I had to stick with it because I didn't have a choice. So, towards the end, I was like, okay, what am I going to do with criminal justice if I want to do it? I was like, maybe I want to be a police officer, but I don't want to be bossed around by people. I didn't want to be told to run or push-ups or do whatever. So I was like, oh, maybe I can be a detective. Still have to do the same thing. You have to work your way up to that. So then we had someone come in and they brought in their canine unit. And I was like, okay, I want to do that. Turns out you still have to be a police officer, then do training, then do whatever. And I was like, I think I just like the dog. So then I was like, okay, by my senior year of high school, I was like, I think I want to do vet med. By then, had no experience with animals, hadn't really touched anything. I had a dog, but that was about as much experience as I had gotten. So I put all my efforts into doing that, and I applied to, I think, every school on the East Coast that had an animal science program. And I ended up touring a whole bunch of them my junior year. I spent most of my junior year touring them. And then I fell in love with the University of Maryland because University of Delaware, they creep me out a little bit. No offense. No offense to my University of Delaware people. But your ag program, you guys were scary a little bit. But other than that, I loved the University of Maryland. My only fear was that I was going to be another minority within a minority because the animal science program, it's not very diverse. You have people who love animals, then you have me, who is a person of color. I'm African American, who also loves animals, which is not typically a common combination. So I felt kind of isolated in that way, but I still loved the path I was going down. So during my time, I ended up joining a sorority, which helped me find my place within my PWI, and I was able to do what I love, which is veterinary medicine, and still have that community that I was looking for within a school like that. So my journey to veterinary medicine was a little unconventional, but it brought me to a place where I was able to really figure out a career I wanted to do while still kind of finding my place within that world of animal science where I would be a 2% of the population.
Right. And did you apply right out of college to vet school?
Yes, I did. Maryland has a program where you could apply during your junior year and finish your senior year in vet school. I didn't want to do that because I did really love my undergrad experience, so I wanted to continue that. Right. So right out of I think my senior year, I applied. During that time when I was applying, I thought after I applied, I was like, oh, I should have taken a gap year. I'm tired of school. I've been in school this entire time. I'm going back to do more school, and then hearing stories about how hard vet school was. I really didn't want to go. And well, I wanted to go, but I wanted time to figure out what I was going for. I wanted a break. I wanted to be able to have fun.
Right.
And because once you start working, you never stop.
Absolutely.
So during that time, I did apply to a couple vet schools, and I was just like, I don't know what I want to do. And then I got in, something happened with my application process where some of the schools couldn't even accept me because I was missing one of my recommendation letters, or didn't get sent in, or there was something about a glitch in the system and I couldn't send them in. So then that was a setback. So out of, I believe, 7 schools, half of them already couldn't accept me because the letters didn't come through, and I found out it was a glitch with the system and stuff. And some of them let me send it to them directly.
Okay.
But it was kind of like a back and forth kind of thing. But at the end of the day, I ended up getting accepted into Virginia, Maryland, because they ended up accepting it, and then everything worked out. And it ultimately was a good choice because I also got accepted to St. George's, which I really didn't want to go to.
Gotcha.
So
not an island girly.
Well, I could be. But I'm more of a home girl.
So fair.
So I like to be close to my family and my friends, because even coming here my first year to Virginia, Maryland, I was like, I'm 8 hours away from home. I'm kind of far. So I'm very much like a family-rooted person. So I like to be close to my family, and I didn't want to have to get on a plane to just travel to go see them, or even holidays, or even like if I want a break, I would have to stay there because I wish I was rich, but I don't have the money to be traveling back and forth.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like St. George's sounds so cool, and I have a friend that goes there, and I'm like, how do you not just lay on the beach all day? Because that's what I would do in that type of environment. So, but I appreciate your story too, because it kind of piggybacks off something Mitch mentioned last week, which is that you cannot give these schools an opportunity to throw out your application. And it's like he had a glitch with his application too, and it's like they can be really inconsiderate, like they will not accept you sending it in another way, even though that's not really your fault, right?
Yeah, it was tough because, like, even though in the back of my head, I wanted to gap year, so I was like, I don't really care. But like, I think in my heart, like, I did care. So I was really stressed about the whole thing. I was like, I applied, did all this for months, trying to finish school and then do other things while trying to submit my application. Turns out that a part of it didn't even get submitted, and now schools can't even accept me because I'm missing a part that wasn't even my fault.
Right.
So, like, it's some things that you have to leave to God. Like, you can't really do anything about it. So it's out of my hands and out of my control.
Yeah.
So it was scary at the time because I was like, I guess it's just not meant to be right now.
Right.
But I took the initiative to reach out to see if they would accept it. Some of them did, and some of them were like, we'll take it, but I don't think they're going to really accept it. Wow. So, but at the end of the day, the schools that did, I ended up getting accepted to, and it worked out. So I'm glad things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
Wish it didn't happen that way, but I mean, at least I did get accepted in my first try, and I feel like that's a big accomplishment. And for all those out there, still keep going. If you really want to, I say push on and keep trying. There's no harm in applying a few times and stuff, because it is a very competitive field and it's really difficult. But I think the people who make the best doctors are the ones who are passionate and are really want to do this job, and not do it just because of the money, but also do it because they have a need to help animals and people together. Because don't think vet med is just, you don't have to work with people. That is 90% of the job. It's 90% of the job, because with the animals comes the owners. So I would say keep on pushing on, and don't, if it's a dream of yours, keep going.
I agree. Thank you so much for saying that. I'm sure that there's someone out there that needs to hear that today. So obviously you've made it here, and we're so glad that you did make it, especially considering all that adversity that you faced. What do you think made you a standout applicant?
That's actually a tough one, because I've been asking myself the same question based on like my friends who have applied and didn't get in the first time, or still trying. I think doing something other than vet med. When I went to Maryland, I was surrounded by people who are like, this is my life. It's going to consume me. Vet med is the only thing I do. I eat, sleep, and breathe vet med or animal science or whatever you want to do in that field. I think for me, I was more so like, this will be it'll be a part of my life, but it won't be my life.
Right.
So venturing out, joining clubs, being on leadership, just making myself known, going to community service, the sorority was also one because it helped me get a little bit of both, like being able to do community service, work with other people, and have leadership roles on there, and then get an understanding of what it's like to work in a group and being a part of something bigger than just working with another person, collaboration stuff. So I think doing that and being well-rounded and not just one thing was what helped me stand out. And I can't necessarily say, I in my head, I can't necessarily pick out what exactly made me stand out. I think I just kind of, I wouldn't say I got lucky, but I think I just did the right things and that they were looking for in the moment. And it comes a time where, you will be that person that they pick. So it can be difficult.
Yeah, I agree. I love how you mentioned being well-rounded, because we do talk about being well-rounded, but we don't always discuss, being well-rounded outside of vet med, right? Like doing other things besides just all vet med, because I do think that people kind of fall into that trap as pre-vet students. They just want to do everything that's animal related, but having that well-roundedness shows that you can work in a team, like you mentioned, working in a sorority and doing things that give back to the community, like community service. So I love that you were able to mention that today, and that's probably a big reason why you got in, because we need those people in our community, right, serving as veterinarians. So we talked a little bit about your background and how you mentioned being like the 2% of veterinarians that are Black. How do you feel included here at Virginia, Maryland? I feel that diversity, equity, and inclusion is a big topic. We talk about it a lot here at Virginia, Maryland, but how do you think Virginia, Maryland does at prioritizing DEI?
I think with the staff and the faculty we have, they do a good job. I don't feel like outcasted or anything like that. Throughout the programs that they have, the many different events, even like it doesn't necessarily have to be outwardly like DEI, but even like caring about people's wellness and mental health and things like that, like it creates an outlet for people of all backgrounds to come together and do that. As being secretary of like our student chapter of National I always forget the acronym. Granted,
SNAPV.
Yeah, we have a SNAPV. I'll say that because I'll get the acronym one day. I promise. Love everybody out there. I will say, like, being a part of that and being able to have people come and talk and listen to how, even outside of being in vet school, what it's like out there in the real world. Like, once you get your degree, what it's like still out in the community and being able to be that 2%, and that you never stop facing adversity. You never stop having to overcome the next person, because we're always kind of like a step behind no matter what we do. So I think Virginia, Maryland does give you that outlet to continue to grow and be the best that you can be, and still showcase what it's like to be a minority and still be a part of the group. So I feel that I don't have any qualms or anything like that. Like, I think they do a great job, and I have been happy here. I haven't felt any type of resentment or anything. Like, I think this was the best choice for me, and especially with someone who we have here that always helps with DI is Gary Morgan. Like, he has been a great advocate and faculty member. I love him so much, and he has done a lot for us, and not even just us in general, like our class, the class beforehand, about teaching us what it means to be accepted, and meaning not even different, but meaning to have different qualities and being able to come together and still know that you are accepted no matter what. And I think with him around, it's been great to have an advocate out there that if you have a problem, like, you can go to him and then we can come up with solutions, and it's very calm, mellow, and we'll get your head on right. And I think it's important to have someone like that, especially in a place that you may feel uncomfortable at first, but I think having someone there that you can talk to no matter what, and kind of figure out if you need to figure out where you're going to go in life and kind of do that, like, it's important to feel comfortable in that space, and I think Virginia, Maryland has provided that.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear it, and I appreciate you sharing your unique experience so candidly. Gary Morgan is so cool. I want to ask him on the podcast. He is definitely on my list of people to interview. But switching gears a little bit, so you mentioned that you are secretary for SNABV, which is the Student National Organization of Black Veterinarians. I have it written down in front of me, so I have it all spelled out. You're also junior vice president of SAVMA and a student ambassador for Blue Pearl.
Yes.
So how do you manage all those positions while continuing to perform well in school?
Compartmentalizing, to be honest. For SAVMA, I originally started out as secretary, and then we kind of switched roles a little bit. So then I became the junior vice president, I guess now senior vice president. And it's about kind of balancing and seeing where stuff fits within your schedule. It's important to not overdo things, because I feel like when I was a first year, I was doing everything. I was in a whole bunch of clubs, wanted to do a whole bunch of e-boards, and realized that is not suitable for me, at least. Because I was just figuring out my bearings, how to study, when to study. I was here at school all the time, and I just felt like I had no time for myself. So kind of limiting that and understanding like what clubs are important to me, and being a part of SAVMA has given me a better, more respect for the organization itself, and kind of like, an inside look into what SAVMA actually does for the school. And for SNABV, being able to put on events, like we recently, this past Saturday, had our all-black affair, Harlem Renaissance. It was a great turnout, and we had a wonderful speaker come. Dr. Azalea Boyd came and speak, and it was fantastic. She really spoke about, like, the Black community and how important it is to, like, have allies and, really invest yourself and never let anyone look down on you, and, keep pushing on and be the best you can be. And Black excellence is all around you, and no matter what, there are obstacles to overcome, and it's important to keep pushing through them no matter what people say. So being able to balance, and then, Blue Pearl, been fantastic. Love them. They have been a great help to me, especially with my externships, and even like getting to know a little bit more about their organization as a whole. But in all, I think really kind of prioritizing and making sure that, I don't put too much on my plate at once. If I know I have something due, instead of pushing it off, just do it there if I have the time, and then keep going from there. And then it's also great to have a team. Like, for SAVMA, we're a whole e-board of members, and then same thing with SNAVV. And although Blue Pearl, I am by myself, I'm not really, because I still have, the rest of the community, and Dr. Brooke, who also helps me out. So I think having those people to lean on, if I do need help, like, I'm not necessarily doing it by myself. I still have people to rely on, and understanding that I can ask for help if I need it. I think that really helps kind of balance my different roles.
Yeah, I love that you said prioritization, and it kind of reminds me of something Kalenza said, which is that you clearly are so passionate about the roles that you do have. So Kalenza was mentioning that she loves her roles, right? So I think that if you find a couple things that you really want to do and go after those, that can help you, right? Especially with prioritizing what you want to do, because we do have limited time.
Yeah, for sure. But I definitely learned to, protect my peace.
For sure.
So, yeah, in doing that, I think I've kind of had a better work-life balance, so to say. So I think doing that and understanding what you really want to do, and not do something just because someone else wants you to. Make sure you're doing it for yourself. I think that helps with making the time, I would say.
Absolutely. What are some strategies pre-veterinary or current veterinary students can use if they are struggling in school?
A good one to use is figure it out. Not necessarily figure it out. It's like, if you don't understand something, don't be complacent in not understanding, because it's not going to come to you. It's not going to come out of thin air.
Right.
Ask for help or look it up. Like, I found out, me sitting in class writing down something, I'd be like, oh, I get that. Go back and look at it. I'm like, oh, I have no idea what this is. Instead of passing it by, do some background research on it, so then it could better help me to understand stuff in the future. I feel like a lot of times we're very complacent with just what we're given, and we can miss a bigger picture that can help us learn something in the future, because things are always forever evolving and moving on and stuff like that. So if you just stick with what you're given, there's a whole other world of information to know. And I think being able to use your resources that people give you, or even just in general, like your peers, colleagues, or whoever you want can do that. I think being able to talk to them and not be complacent with just what's handed to you in front of your face, and just kind of learn from that. I think that's one of the best pieces of advice that actually one of my classmates gave me when I was studying with her. She was like, if I don't know something, I just look it up. Like, I do look it up instead of like trying to understand what they're actually saying, instead of just being like, okay, I think I get it, because it could help you further down the line, especially in vet med, where stuff is not just black and white. You have a whole bunch of gray area that I think needs to be understood, or at least tried to understand, so to help you be a better doctor or better researcher or whatever you want to do in the field. So I think that's really important.
For sure. Don't be complacent. Just going to leave that right there. Kiana, something I really admire about you is that you're clearly so resilient. And I know that you have unfortunately had to deal with grief in veterinary school and having loved ones pass away. How have you overcome that while being in school?
To be honest, I don't know if I ever fully overcome it. I think I'm still dealing with it every day. In undergrad, I also had someone pass in the middle of like a semester. So vet school was 10 times harder because we have exams every 2 weeks. We're doing labs, and I don't necessarily live close to go back and forth. So last semester, I was dealing with a family member in the hospital. Unfortunately, she passed. So I was flying home every other weekend. I did an exam, and then I was trying to balance, I think during that time, we also had our anesthesia lab. So trying to practice study for that and making sure that happens. I don't think I ever really dealt with it. I think I just learned how to live life with it. So I think it's important to I ended up talking to like my parents and my family and my friends, and not kind of hold it in. I think there's part of me that's like, I don't really think I had the time to grieve or do that, but it's not that it's too late, but to me, I just feel like I don't have the time. Like, I don't have the time to really sit with my thoughts and be like, oh my gosh, this happened. I just kind of had to, recognize it and kind of push on, because although it happened, the world never stopped. The world keeps pushing. The days go by, the hours go by, minutes, seconds, and you realize that although it happened to you, no one else is dealing with this pain that you're obviously feeling right now. So you're gonna have to keep pushing and think about what your loved one wanted you to do. Like, they don't want you to sit here and cry about it, or sit there and stop your life because of what happened. They want you to be better. They want you to do this for them, and they want you to kind of excel, and I think I just have to kind of put that in my mind. It's like, if she were here right now, what would she want me to do? And she would want me to continue and study and get good grades and graduate. She would want to see me graduate. She wouldn't want to see me sit here and fail my exams and then drop out, because then that's not what we had planned for. When we had talked about it, that's not what we had planned for. So I think putting it into perspective about what they would want me to do kind of helped me continue on with my studies. And now in my head, I do this for them. So my entire career will be for all the people I've lost while in school, and I think that's what keeps me going every day. And although I miss them, I think it's important to still have that and sit with it, and it's okay to carry with that every day and stuff like that, because eventually things will get better. The missing part, I don't think will ever go away, but I think it's important to sit there and it's okay to live life and still have that feeling of them with you.
I love that you mentioned that you still have it. It's still with you. That grief continues. I also lost a family member last semester, and I appreciate you sharing so openly, because I feel like it's something we don't really talk about enough, is that when we come to veterinary school, life does not stop. It just keeps moving, and things happen outside of veterinary school that can really impact us. And I really admire how you continue to move on and continue to do the next right thing. I feel like, because sometimes I feel like that's the only thing that we can do, which is, like you said, find that perspective, which is that what would they have wanted us to do, which is to continue on in school. And I appreciate you saying, too, like, now you have a newfound purpose almost, that you're going to do this for them because that's what they wanted, and that's something that you guys had talked about and dreamed and planned for. So I just want to really shout out people that are having a hard time out there, because I think that it's something we don't talk about enough. And when you come to veterinary school, those things are still going to happen to you, and you have to be able to be ready for that and lean on friends and families for support when you need it.
Yeah, I don't think it even doesn't even necessarily have to go towards like just grief and loss. Like, I think anyone dealing with like mental health issues or any type of insecurity, it's important to like understand that it's happening. And, you know, like I said, vet school doesn't stop, but it's important for you to understand that it's okay to feel that way.
Yes.
It's okay to have these things happen to you. And as long as you use your community, your support system, and get the help you need. And even if you don't necessarily want help and you want to kind of figure it out for yourself, it's okay to do that. Just take that time for yourself to help you. No one's going to help you but yourself. I mean, there are lots of people that you can work with, but at the end of the day, you're going to want to have to do it for yourself. And no one can want that for you.
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you for sharing so openly. I really appreciate your experience and sharing that here today. And I really admire you and your resilience. So thank you for sharing. If you could go back in time and give one piece of advice to your pre-veterinary self, what would it be?
Pick pre-vet earlier.
That's so funny.
Pick it earlier. I think I was really stressed around the time of applying because I hadn't done anything. Not saying vet school is all about like your experience, but it is a decent part of it because they do want to see you have some sort of knowledge of the field, whether it be research or just being in a clinic. I was a veterinary receptionist for, I believe, like a year.
Ooh, girl, shout out.
It was terrible.
That's hard work.
It was terrible. Terrible. I recommend, but I don't. But it's okay. It's okay because I ended up working at another place, which I love, even though I might have to quit because I'm in school.
We can't lose you.
I'm in school. So, but I mean, like, I go back during the summers and stuff. So,
yeah.
But that literally quitting would only be just because I'm not there anymore, and I feel bad having them on my roster. But I feel like getting your experience early and not being afraid to do anything, because I think people can get a little picky about what exactly they want to do. Like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. But working in a shelter, you don't even have to necessarily work there. Volunteering, getting your hours. I think a big thing I can do for my pre-veterinary self is making sure I got that exposure early, so I didn't have to kind of scramble. But I got lucky, unlucky, because COVID. They took away the hours during that time, so it wasn't really a big deal. So I would say, get exposure and make sure it's what I wanted to do. I feel like as a pre-veterinary student, I was stuck in a lane of like wanting to be a veterinarian. And if I had an animal science degree, I wasn't sure. If I didn't want to be a vet and I had an animal science degree, I wasn't sure what to do with that. So I think making sure it's what I really wanted to do, and I didn't go down this rabbit hole of, I think I want to, but I'm not really sure. So I think it's important to, listen to yourself, figure out, venture out, see what you want to do, try different places. Like, I worked at a farm at school, realized I hated it. That is not my thing. And, in vet school, you have to learn about all species. So when we have Cal Lab, it's not my favorite.
Push through.
It's not my favorite, which you can see my facial expressions. But I do it anyway because I do love the craft of veterinary medicine. So I think getting your experience and figuring out what you want to do is really helpful before coming into vet school as well, to kind of get an idea of which path you would want to go down. But at the same time, once you get your doctorate, you could do anything.
Sky's the limit, baby.
You could really do anything. So I think getting exposure, getting experience, talking to people, finding mentors. That's the advice I would have given to myself before even going to undergrad, even for starting pre-vet.
I love that so much. Speaking of which, what is one thing you are looking forward to when it comes to working in veterinary medicine?
I would say stop studying, but I think it's
Yeah.
never ending. The constant research.
So true.
One thing I'm looking forward to is kind of challenging myself. I think when I study, especially because I'm given so much information, it's hard for me to really put things together. I think I work best in a clinical setting.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to kind of work with people and like do it firsthand by myself. Like
Right.
I know during 4th year and 2nd year we have clinics, but clinics with a doctor, but I just want to see something through. Like from start to finish by myself. I want to see all the crazy cases. I really want to be challenged, and I want to see how far my brain can take me, because that is like one of my biggest fears of graduating, is being like, I guess, an incompetent doctor. That is just a fear of mine that I've had since I've started, because I feel like I have the knowledge, I'm just don't know how to apply it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can remember something someone said, I'm like, oh, I don't know. I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember. And that little piece I'm missing is like the key to all of it. So I think I'm excited to kind of see what I'm like in practice. Like I think I'm excited to see what's next when I leave. I do want to go into specialty, I think. Right now, I'm looking at ophthalmology. I love an eyeball. I love an eyeball. When I was at work, we did a couple of nucleations, and they let me take the eyeball home in a jar. Sorry. But I did love them. My mom threw them out when I left, but it's okay. But I think that's where I want to go. So during my summer rotations, I'm excited to, I'll be working at a specialty ophthalmologist. So
cool.
I'm excited to see if that's my passion. If not, at least I learned. So I think what I'm really excited about is like, kind of seeing where my degree takes me, seeing what cases are out there, and seeing how I can apply myself in the field.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can't wait to see where you go. I love a good eyeball too, but I didn't realize you were interested in specialty, so that's awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for letting me interview you today, Kiana. I had a great time. Where can people find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram. It's just my name, so at Kiana, Kiana, I think it's .Severe, Severe. I have a TikTok. I just don't remember it.
So fair. I'll drop it in the show notes. Don't you guys worry.
I'm not on there as often. I love a good scroll, but I don't really post on there. But if you want to, maybe you'll see some fun little content here and there.
So fair. Well, thank you again, Kiana, so much for coming on the show today. I really enjoyed talking with you. My name is Grace Gaynor, and I just interviewed Kiana Severe, and we are Scrubbing Out.
That's a wrap for today's episode of Scrubbed In, the DVM Journey. Thanks for tuning in and being a part of our community of future vets and animal lovers. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. It helps others find the show and join the conversation. And if you have any questions or topics you'd love to hear about, feel free to leave us a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep scrubbing in, and remember, the journey to becoming a DVM is one step at a time.
One of those will be just fine.